evening, everyone. We'll now open the August regular school board meeting of District 518. 1.0 call to order. Roll call, everybody is here. 1.2 recognition of visitors and guests. Thanks for everyone that's here and watching. 1.3 pledge of allegiance. Okay, correspondence and recognition, public participation. At the beginning of each board meeting, we provide members of the public with the opportunity to address the school board. Community input is encouraged and welcomed. Input must be informal in nature, address the entire board rather than one particular member, and will be limited to a maximum of 5 minutes in length. The Board of Education cannot engage in discussion or debate, but will take the information for review and direct it to the appropriate district employee to respond. I don't believe we have any public participation tonight.
Mr. Chairman, one item from the public that after our last meeting, a taxpayer called me vehemently upset with many items, chief among them not able to hear when they're listening to playback. So I told her I would make light of that to our presenters and our board members to use the microphones. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
All right. 1.4.2 recognition of student, staff, and community. We just have one tonight. Lori will be presenting Oscar with this award while I'm reading the recognition. So tonight we're officially presenting Studio 3 with their 2026 Hometown Media Award. Studio 3 received this 2026 Hometown Media Award from the Alliance for Community Media Foundation. The Hometown Media Awards honor excellence in community media, community radio, and local cable programming distributed on public, educational, and governmental access television channels across the country. Studio 3 submitted 4 productions for consideration and earned a first place award in the Educational Activities Independent Producer category for its coverage of Worthington High School students signing to enlist in the Minnesota National Guard in April of '25. Each year, nearly 1,000 entries are submitted for the Hometown Media Awards. More than 100 winners are selected by a panel of industry professionals. We are proud and excited for Studio 3 and especially Oscar Martinez for receiving a Hometown Media Award. Studio 3 representative said Oscar and the Studio 3 team dedicate countless hours to brainstorming, recording, editing, and publishing content for the community to enjoy. Congratulations to Oscar and the Studio 3 crew for a job well done.
Thank you so much.
Nice work, Oscar.
Okay, moving on. We need approval of the agenda, consent agenda, and main agenda. Do I have a motion to approve the agendas?
So moved.
Motion by Ann, do I have a second?
Second.
Seconded by Lori. All those in favor of the motion say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, same sign. Motion passes. 3.0, approval of minutes, approval of the July regular board meeting minutes, the school board work session meeting minutes, and special school board meeting and committee meeting minutes. Do I have a motion to approve minutes?
So moved.
Motion by Ann, do I have a second?
Second.
Seconded by Aaron. All those in favor of the approval of the minutes, say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, same sign. Motion passes. Okay, 4.0, consent agenda. Do I have a motion to approve the items under the consent agenda?
So moved.
Motion by Lori,
Second.
seconded by Matt. All those in favor of the items under consent agenda, say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, same sign. Motion passes. Moving on, main agenda, 5.1, monthly financial overview. Carmen?
You guys have in front of you the revenues and expenditures for the period ending July 31st, 2026. So that is our first month of our new fiscal year. As you can see, our numbers are very low because we're just starting with expenditures in there. Right now, a lot of those are just our beginning expenditures for the month. There's a salary, a monthly, for our 12-month employees would be included in that, in those totals. I did ask Ryan earlier about any of our construction costs in here. In the July 31st, they're not. There's some in here, correct, Ryan?
The Prairie Rough construction, that's what that is, towards the bottom, the 1.7 million.
And as we continue the other projects, we'll continue to get those invoices and complete that probably in September at some point.
Okay, any questions for Carmen? 5.2, special education programming updates. Jill and staff.
Thanks for having us tonight. For those of you who have not formally met me, I am Jill Stiefvater, the new Director of Special Education for the Worthington School District. With me, I have our two new coordinators with our reformatting of what our admin team looks like in the special education department. I'll let them introduce themselves as well.
Hello, I'm Catherine Ralston, the Elementary Special Education Coordinator.
I'm Joelle Thomas, and I'm the Secondary Special Education Coordinator.
So tonight we'll talk a little bit about our staffing, kind of programming, and some changes that we've made per the special education review done by Carol Potter. So again, myself, Catherine, and Joelle. According to recent MDE report card data, there currently are around 642 special education students in the Worthington Public School District. That's closer. That's about an average of 16.2% of our overall student population. Currently, we have 32 special education teachers, 98 special education support staff or paraprofessionals. We currently have an average of 2.2 FTE occupational therapists. The reason I say average is because with our VIBE online program, our attendance kind of ebbs and flows with our needs, and so we adapt to what our need looks like in regards to the programming for our VIBE students with our OT. Speech pathologists, we currently have 5.75 FTE. It's 6 employees with equivalency of 5.75. We currently have an average of 4 FTE school psychologists. There's actually 7 overall, with them varying in what they work in regards to 0.75, and 2 of them at Prairie Elementary share a position. We currently have blind, visually impaired, orientation and mobility. That is an average of 0.65 FTE. We have deaf, hard of hearing, 1 FTE. We have a physical therapist that's here half of the time, so a 0.5 FTE. Our DAPE teacher is 0.8 FTE. He is hired full-time through the district, but does some gen ed physical education as well at Prairie Elementary. We also have a due process and academic specialist this year. That was a new hire that I'll talk about in a little bit. She is full-time here in Worthington. And then we also have 5 special education secretaries within our district. The contracted services that we have this year through SWWC are our occupational therapist. Like I said, Kelsey is her name. She's supporting our VIBE, so she's around a 0.2 FTE. We have speech language therapists that are supporting our middle school, high school, and some services at the intermediate school. We have school psychologists that are supporting Prairie Elementary as well as the intermediate school and district-wide as needed to support our SEAT team. We have a new due process and academic specialist. That's a 1.0 position, like I said previously. She'll be doing the academic assessments at Prairie Elementary as well as supporting due process district-wide. Our physical therapist is also contracted, and then our blind, visually impaired, orientation and mobility. Some roles and responsibilities with the new makeup of Joelle, Catherine, and myself, as well as Ashley, our due process and academic specialist. The roles that I will be taking on this year is the oversight overall of the special education program. I'll be working with the building administrators on special education department hiring, as well as the teachers, support staff, as well as OT, PT, looking at all those needs within the district. I'll be working with MDE on any reporting and monitoring that we have going throughout the school year. any due process complaints, working on manifestation determination meetings with teachers and staff. ELC transitions, those are our setting 4 programs in Wyndham and Pipestone. We also have students that sometimes attend our ELCs in Sioux Falls as well. I'll be supporting the administrators and teacher evaluations, and then also just working on other daily admin supports. Our special education coordinators, Catherine and Joelle, will be working directly with our teachers to support them. They'll be providing supports on the weekly as well as trainings throughout the school year on specific topics that might vary between buildings or across the district. They might be consistent. They'll be supporting our administrators with para evaluations for our special education paraprofessionals. They'll be working on due process compliance and supports. They can provide IEP meeting supports for some of those higher level meetings should they need supports in those areas. They'll be doing paraprofessional trainings. They'll be working on scheduling supports for our special education teachers and paraprofessionals, and then providing any special education updates to our buildings across the district. Ashley, our new due process and academic specialist, will also be assisting in due process supports, helping our our case managers write IEPs and provide support that way, really working with our newer teachers that are to the district and just in special education in general. She'll also be helping with our monthly meeting updates and trainings. She'll be doing the academic assessments as a part of our SEAT team, our special education assessment team at Prairie Elementary. And then she'll also be writing those evaluation reports along with those assessments. She'll be doing the evaluation results meetings at Prairie Elementary. And then she'll be supporting and assisting with those district trainings. And then NSTC stands for New Special Education Teacher Cohort. She'll be supporting with those trainings and throughout our region as well under SWWC. So what's new kind of after we did our program review with Carol Potter last year? Some updates that we've been working really hard on and changing to better support our staff and work more cohesively throughout our district. We're really working on paraprofessional scheduling and staffing, what that looks like across the district, really working across our buildings so they're not so siloed maybe in our staffing and when we're hiring. We're also looking at scheduling so we can better support students as well as our case managers throughout the day. We are moving our Setting 3 classroom at Prairie Elementary, and we are implementing the STAR cohort, which is a curriculum specific for students with autism. And actually our teacher, Rebecca Brignac, attended that training yesterday and today. So that's good news. I talked to her afterwards and she said it was a really great training. So she'll be in that cohort, and then we have a national trainer that will be coming out to work with her 4 times a year this year as well. Some staffing changes that we've made, we're just looking differently at case management, what we can do to better support our teachers, especially when we're not able to find teachers in some capacities, so just what we can do to make those shifts and changes to kind of work together. In speech specifically, we're changing our model from a 3-in-1 model to a 4-in-1 model. So previously they would do 3 weeks of direct services, and then we had a SEAT SLP who would only do the evaluations. This year we're going to move to the 4-in-1 model where all of our SLPs will be doing their own evaluations, and then they will be seeing students 4 days a week in that week, and then 1 day they will be doing evaluations, meetings, collaboration, and being able to have that time to have that time to meet with teachers as well. Transportation is a change that I know is probably not new to all of you. 4.0 will be taking over our special education transportation. Josh, Mallory, and myself have been in a lot of contact to make sure that's a smooth transition for all of our families, and there's no issues there. And then also this year, a new thing I'm going to implement is a lead teacher monthly meeting. So at every building, we have a lead special education teacher, and I will be meeting with them monthly just so we can collaborate across the district and just have a more cohesive plan across the district from building to building. Currently, we are working through some MDE monitoring updates. So IDCs, or indicator data collection, is something that MDE does annually. It's a federal monitoring requirement. I'm happy to say that this year we just got an email with our results that all of our IDCs passed, and we are clear on all of those, so that's really great to hear. We are also part of comprehensive monitoring, so this happens every 5 years cycle through MDE. We had 15 files reviewed through MDE. We have 9 that were passed. 4 were waiting on MDE confirmation, and then 2 we were waiting to submit in October, just based on the progress report cycle for early childhood special education students. Overall, our comprehensive monitoring will be due January 2027, so we'll be wrapping up then, and we'll be working through if we would have any next steps or corrective action plans from there. I talked a little bit about how we're going to be helping support with evaluations. So like I said, I will be helping complete some teacher evaluations for special education teachers through the district. I will be helping support complete a non-tenured evaluation for our administrators. And then collaborating with our building administrators on any other evaluations they would need support with throughout the year. Our peer evaluations will be completed by Catherine and Joelle and myself in some capacity, and we'll just really be just having that more one-on-one conversation with our paraprofessionals and supporting what their needs are, and just really having that conversation of things that they're doing well, maybe things we need to change early on versus not having that connection as early in the school year. Different trainings and supports that we are going to provide to our special education staff. Like I said, I'm going to have those lead teacher meetings, so I'm really excited to have that collaboration across the district. We're going to offer CPI training again this year, as well as UCARU training, and I'll talk about what those are like in a little bit. We'll continue to have our monthly building meetings where we meet specifically with that building and provide special education updates, supports, anything they would need in regards to due process topics, meeting with those specific buildings. We are going to provide new teacher meetings, so Catherine and Joelle will be meeting with our newer staff on a regular, consistent basis to provide that support, whether it be scheduling, case management, maybe it's academic or behavior supports. So just really having that one-on-one time with our newer teachers and providing support in that way. And then also, like I said, due process supports. So Ashley will really be focusing on reviewing those IEPs and ensuring that we are compliant and that they have support in writing their IEPs if they have any questions. Para trainings that we are going to provide this year. We are going to move back to an in-person training this year for our paraprofessionals. We'll be providing those monthly. We also have Infinitec should we need those for a, not a snow day, so, thank you. Learn from home day. Thank you. We also have a de-escalation training that we're providing that's actually going to be on the 25th of August for all paraprofessionals, not just special education, because we think it's important for all paraprofessionals to have those skills. UCARU training, which I will talk about again in a little bit. We just had our Keys Para Conference on August 13th. That was very well attended. We had the majority of our Class 2 paraprofessionals there. We specifically had our ISD 518 paras work on disability awareness. We had accessibility with all of our new iPads that we purchased throughout the district. And then also we did PCA, which is personal care assistant training for our students with higher needs. And also the CPI training, which will be happening next Monday and Friday for our paraprofessionals and special education staff. So CPI training is crisis prevention intervention. So this year we're going to move to teams of 5 to 10 in each building rather than having all of our paraprofessionals trained across the district. The reason for that is because then we have that specific team. We know exactly who needs to answer in that crisis moment, and that those 5 to 10 people could then respond and work with that student specifically. We have had a decrease in physical restraints over the last 3 years, which is good to see. However, like I said, all paras will be trained in that de-escalation piece, so prior to any restrictive procedures needed to be used. UCARU training is something that we're going to be adding this year. It's new to the district. UCARU training really focuses on that de-escalation piece as well as trauma-informed practices. So really working on using mats and things to block versus having to do those physical holds. So we're really working on the de-escalation piece prior to having to complete any of those restrictive procedures. We have 4 people that will be trained within our district and will be trainers to then come back and train our staff. Joelle will be a trainer, as well as 2 of our new behavior support paras at the intermediate and elementary school. And then also, we'll have a fourth trainer, Jessica DeCam, who is our CPI trainer within the district, so she'll be getting trained as well. And that training is happening in October, and once they come back, then we will then train our staff through a series of our PD days that are built within our calendar. We're going to start with our paraprofessionals in special education and teachers, and then we'll eventually roll through Gen Ed Paras as well. Building collaboration that we are going to have this year is first our coordinators are going to have building meetings with our site administrators, and I will let them kind of talk about their plan for that.
So our plan when we were meeting with the building administrators is to really sit down and set up kind of some proactive plans for meeting weekly with our building administrators. We want to make sure that we are kind of on the front end of that. Are there issues or concerns that are arising in the buildings? How do we proactively address that and make sure that we are keeping that communication open between the special education, from the special education department with the building administrator, and so really building that teamwork. We've talked with the building administrators. We're going to start with a weekly meeting, getting those scheduled. We need to scale back or tailor that as we go throughout the year, but we really wanted to start strong and see how the year progresses.
Then we'll continue to have our special education admin team meetings weekly to just connect on things throughout the building, throughout the district. And then I will continue to attend the principal and admin meetings with Josh at the district level to make sure that I am included in any of the information there and work collaboratively with those building administrators. The ELCs that I talked about a little bit earlier are setting for transition programs, and so these are for our kiddos. This is the most restrictive environment, so our kiddos with the most significant behavior needs. I meet monthly in our pulse meetings with the special education staff at the ELCs, along with our coordinators will join this year, and we really just want to have a firm referral process in and out for our setting for, and just really working collaboratively with those ELCs to have the best transition process for these kiddos. 4.0 will also be providing transportation to our ELCs. Again, Mallory and I have been working on that for several months now, just to make sure that, again, things go smoothly as we transition over to 4.0. Any questions?
I'm wondering if you could go back to the slide that has the contract details
Sure.
with the co-op. Okay, so are any of your 3 positions through the co-op?
Mine is.
Yours is?
Yes.
Okay. Yeah, because I remember when we had conversations
Sorry, I should have included
a
that one.
couple of years ago about how we were talking about like whether if we used the co-op for any services, then we must have a director hired through the co-op, was my understanding. Josh, is that, am I
I
remembering
would say
correctly?
based on conversations with admin from the co-op over the last couple of years, they would say they would potentially consider working agreements with districts. Definitely in the past, they were very strict on some of the services must. We found that this structure where the 2 coordinators are on a contract, and with Jill being on the co-op contract, but also some of the things like that ability where she can go in and do formal evaluations, or at least 1 of 3 formal evaluations, which a few years back, the co-op was not allowing some of those things to occur. So there've been some negotiating along the way in terms of even with the contract, with Jill being on their contract, we want to ensure some of those things are in place for us.
Okay, good, thanks. I just kind of wanted to come full circle on that, because I know we had many discussions a while back on that matter. So, thank you.
How about the curriculum for each schools? I mean, that was kind of a challenge in the past, wasn't it? It was kind of getting old, so are we updating?
Yeah, so some new curriculums that we have been working, I've been working with Melissa and Sarah through the curriculum department. So we've ordered some new academic curriculums at Prairie and Intermediate. Writing curriculum new at Prairie specifically. Been ordering some more materials for reading specifically at Intermediate. That STAR program that I had talked about, we're also going to utilize at the Intermediate school. They're just not a part of the cohort, but Joelle actually has some STAR training, so she's going to support them in that as well. And then Kelly Nelson and I have kind of been talking about some different programming and supports we can do at the high school level. We just haven't ordered anything specific yet because we haven't found maybe what we need.
Anyone else, questions?
Yeah, just in summary from last year, it sounds like we've added 3 positions to the 2 coordinators and the due process position. Are there any others that we've added?
Nope, I wouldn't say added overall in regards to teaching positions, or like I said, there's a shift in numbers with a school psychologist just because specifically at Prairie, there's 2 sharing 1 position, but overall the FTE is pretty equivalent. And I guess the difference between adding the 3 versus 2 on the SPED team is because previously I was the assistant director and then there was a director above me, and now we no longer have that assistant director position except for the, and then the coordinators instead.
Sure, just so I understand how we're...
Yep. And actually with the academic specialist piece, we had that person 3 days a week. So we essentially added those 2 days a week in combination with that academic specialist job. So that due process person, the 2 days a week, is added to the 3 we already had. It's just a new person. Am I making sense with that? Okay.
1.6 FTE.
Yes, thank you.
And we added the other 0.4 for due process support
Yes.
for new teachers.
I see.
So we just kind of shifted how things looked a little bit to better serve the needs of our staff.
Sure, yeah, and that, I guess my main question is that we have some new people in place to help support
Yes.
how we're doing this and to making sure that we're doing it correctly.
Yep.
Are we still short on teachers?
We are currently short on 2 teachers. Working through that.
What buildings are they at?
Currently at the intermediate school of the middle school.
Any more questions?
If I may, just before they finish, just thank you to the board and your vision for embarking on the full year-long analysis that we've been a part of. Obviously, Carol Potter's part commenced in January, and we were able to take many of her recommendations, begin to build a team to really truly start to collaborate across buildings and across departments. And so our new folks have jumped in with 2 feet and have done some great things already. You can see even our special ed teams re-energized, and in those cases where we are short, their willingness to take on a little bit until we can get filled with some other collaboration we've done with EMW has been refreshing. So appreciate Jill and her team and all the work that they've done to get ready for our students already in, 8 days. So thanks, guys.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you. Moving on, 5.3, we got to approve a language access plan.
Yeah, the language access plan is a new requirement by MDE. This one truly makes a lot of sense. The intent is to ensure that districts have a plan in place and a system in place to make sure that language is not a barrier to any of the families, any of the individual students that we're working with. This plan was started in late spring, early summer with Sue Hagan, Sharon Johnson, some lead interpreters, and myself. We kind of put it on pause until we were able to hire Ruth Martinez as our new multilingual or language coordinator. She has now been able to kind of put her eyes on it, put a little bit of spin on it. We definitely have taken a more purposeful approach, talking with building admin, or speaking with their teachers. This will be out on our web pages. We want to just make sure it not only kind of summarizes what we have currently been doing to try to meet those needs, but it also challenges ourselves to hold us a little bit more accountable to keep getting better at what we do. So the draft was presented at committee and they recommend approval.
I have a motion to approve the language access plan.
So moved.
Motion by Lori, do I have a second?
Second.
Second by Eric, is there any further discussion? All those in favor of the motion, say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, same sign. Motion passes. 5.4, approve student handbook. Carmen.
Staff handbook,
Staff.
employee handbook. So I want to give a shout out to Dina Lubin. She took her role as Human Resources Director August 3rd. She kind of did the final touches on this, went and reviewed it to make sure that we're compliant with all the new laws and changes. So I'll just go through and give you kind of a summary. This was presented at instructional committee as well. So I'll just summarize some of the changes, and then if you have any questions, I can answer those, or Dina's here as well. So some of the basic changes were the district goals and organizational information were revised to reflect updated comprehensive achievement and civic readiness measures, including new 2029 targets for kindergarten readiness, grade 3 reading, college and career readiness, the graduation rates and financial practices were updated. Our school board meeting information was updated. District leadership assignments and the building and department directory were also updated in the section of leadership. Numerous administrative and departmental assignments were revised as we made changes throughout that. In the HR department, building administration, obviously then special ed, all those were updated to reflect those changes. Our school safety and emergency procedures were updated to reflect our new SRP, and which is our school response protocol, were updated, as was updated in all of our student handbooks. So our staff handbook just matched that information. The district communication and weather notifications was updated to our new Apogee system that we will be using, so that information also updated for our staff to match what our student handbook said. The payroll information was updated to reflect the new payroll calendars, the check dates, and our ESS system and payroll-related references were also updated, were applicable. One thing that was added to this section, and just with the new, all the conversations with cell phones for students, we also wanted to put something in the staff handbook for our staff. Obviously, we're not denying them use. We just went through some of the, maybe some common do's and don'ts. We reviewed just that professional way to use your phone, communication methods, student staff confidentiality, professional boundaries, and then review like photographs, videos on your cell phone and recordings, and how to properly use those and protect. At the forefront, we always want to make sure our students' data privacy is protected when staff is using their cell phone. So in the handbook, we just reviewed that. Again, at this time, we're not denying any use of cell phones. We just really recommended some common sense do's and don'ts for staff to review. The attendance and leave, that information was just updated to reflect any changes to our reporting system, notifications that we have to share annually, or that's one thing that Dina went through and made sure that we're including everything that we need with some of those new law changes that happened in the last year. We updated those. The handbook to reflect those. The retirement procedures now emphasize meeting with HR before the employee's final day. The board policy section was expanded to explain policy series 100 through 900 and employees' responsibilities to remain familiar with district policies. That's something that we have them review in their back to school. We just want to continue to really make sure that all of our staff understand our policies that the board has put in place, so we're following those throughout their job expectations. Overall, the 26-27 revisions primarily monitors district leadership, contact information, and then again the safety and emergency procedures, employee communications, and payroll dates. And again, this was presented at instructional, and they recommended approval.
Motion to approve the staff handbook.
So moved.
Motion by Ann, do I have a second?
Second.
Seconded by Matt. Any further discussion? All those in favor of the motion, say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, same sign. Motion passes. 5.5, I'm gonna roll 5.5 and 5.6 together as one motion, resolution 1 and resolution 2.
We'll have to vote on them separately as roll call votes.
We gotta vote on them? Okay, just keep them separate then, okay. Do we have a motion to approve tax abatement resolution number 1?
Move to approve.
Motion by Matt,
Second.
seconded by Lori. Is there any further discussion? Roll call.
Ms. Dudley.
Aye.
Ms. Sagard.
Aye.
Ms. Shooty.
Aye.
Ms. Mills.
Aye.
Mr. Bloom.
Aye.
Mr. Parrish.
Aye.
Mr. Woodboom.
Aye.
Okay, 5.6, approve tax abatement resolution number 2. One question I had, does anybody know how long these abatements go for? Is this continuous, so many years in the county?
Yep, and I did some research over the course of the last few days with the county. The current initiative runs through 2027, and then it would come back for renewal by any entity that would have a part in this. So 2027 is the current initiative.
I have a motion to approve resolution number 2.
So moved.
Motion by Ann, do I have a second?
Second.
Seconded by Aaron. Any further discussion? Roll call.
Ms. Dudley. Aye. Ms. Agard.
Aye.
Ms. Shute.
Aye.
Ms. Mills.
Aye.
Mr. Bloom.
Aye.
Mr. Parrish.
Aye.
Mr. Woodboom.
Aye.
Motion passes. Okay, 5.7, discussion item, discussion on district athletic improvements, including the commitments to the middle school. Joel?
Yeah, thank you, Chairman Bloom, members of the board. I've got the next couple here, so I'll roll into this. This conversation is coming to discussion with the full board after individual conversations that I've had with a number of you in regard to the next topic on the agenda, which is the proposed lease agreement, ownership agreement with a potential ice arena. I've got some notes that Lisa was kind enough to pull that I'll just share here in regard to the initial motion and passage in 2024, which was well before my time. But on that evening, that's when the $5 million was originally committed toward an ice arena project. But there was a second part of that motion and vote that included $5 million to the middle school. And so the question that's been proposed to me is, we've spent a lot of time, energy, and effort talking about the commitment of the $5 million toward an ice arena. Have we had a public discussion around what to do moving forward with the other half? And so the motion by Mr. Woodboom, there was a second by Member Schneider that unanimously passed to commit. This was also part of the initial referendum vote, to do a referendum vote of $27.5 million to a high school addition, a $5 million commitment to a community venue, which was the ice arena, and a $5 million commitment to the middle school project, which included the football field and other possible improvements outside. So bringing that to board for any further discussion before we move into specifically the discussion on a potential ice arena.
And I think that was for up to $5 million. Is that correct?
The notes from the board minutes says, and a $5 million commitment.
If I remember it, I think this was like a 3.2.
Right, it's quite a bit less, and I didn't remember it was $5 million for the middle school projects. I thought it was quite a bit less than that. So I kind of thought too it was up to a certain amount, but
I think at that time we were talking turf, which,
would have been or not have been, right?
yeah. So discussion, thoughts, guys? Is it something we want to, we have a drainage problem out there. We got one baseball field that's in a wet area that could be lifted. The football field could be redone, from what I'm gathering. We're looking at proposing a hockey arena for hockey plus community and school district needs. But you also have a lot of stuff out there that is being used probably for, well, football, soccer, baseball. I'm sure band uses it, and they obviously use it for lunchtime, recess, ed. I mean, yeah, the football field looks better. They've seeded it and they've been taking care of it, but it still has holes in it. It's just a bad deal. So, I mean, we still gotta consider if you wanna talk about it, or we wanna look at it. I guess that would be up to administration and Site Logic.
I guess from an administrative standpoint, that would be our recommendation, is with a new partner with our facilities and management of that, knowing that those dollars were committed over 2 years ago now, to give us, with new leadership, an opportunity to do an assessment of that site. I can say, and Jeff is here for other further questions on either topic, but Site Logic is partnering with us right now to do some soil borings in and around those softball field areas, just to give us a better picture of what kind of soils we're looking at, that will really drive any further work that we do. And so it's hard for us to get a clear vision as far as how to proceed without having that first. And then I guess I would encourage, if the board so chooses to direct us, to allow SiteLogic to do a full assessment of that area. I can say publicly, we have worked really hard, and I shouldn't say we, Jake and his team at the middle school have worked really hard to make that field a better playing surface. It's not perfect, but they've committed their time and energy to that space to make it better than what it had been. And I think there's more that we can do to make sure that it's a level surface that's truly safe for our kids, even when it's grass. And so, you know, the greater conversation is are our dollars best used for a second turfed football field, or do we make that a higher level grass field and use dollars in other areas?
Can I just ask for clarification, Joel, about what you read initially? Because I'm confused.
Sure.
Because you said $5 million was committed to the ice arena, $5 million to the middle school, but then you talked about a referendum.
Yep, so the full motion that night, I'll read it just kind of verbatim. It says, motion by member Woodboom, seconded by member Schneeder, and unanimously passed to approve option 3, which I wasn't a part of it. I think John presented multiple options of how to proceed, but passed to approve option 3 minus the west site project to complete a $27.5 million high school addition, a $5 million commitment to community venue, ice arena, and a $5 million commitment to the middle school project, which included football, field turf, and other improvements.
So there's 3 parts to the motion.
Okay, so, but I'm sorry, I'm hung up on the referendum piece of it. The referendum did not pass. So
The motion was just to go out for it. Right.
okay, but the 5 million and the 5 million were not tied to that referendum.
Correct. They were outside the 27.5 million, yes.
Thank you.
Good clarity.
If I recall some of the, before it got to that board level meeting and a motion was made, there were multiple work sessions, and it was still somewhat of that just desire to really break down some of those bigger projects. Kind of like it's the same question you guys have been asking, is help lay out kind of that time frame of when will we try to attack some of these bigger projects. And I think that's also where some of the discussion, after we started to look at how many of the district dollars we were looking to invest in the high school, there was conversation about putting the initial motion of the dollars for the middle school at least on pause until we saw how that went, knowing that kitchen servery, a safe entrance, some of those other pieces, the north wing that we're already looking at trying to take care of next summer. So there was discussion after that passed in terms of we may need to pause until we at least relook at where are we going to land with the high school projects after the referendum did not pass.
Mr. Chairman, the brakes were pumped heavily in reacting to the way the taxpayer voted. And then we chose to embark on the West Elementary softball project and put dollars towards that. And I've been adamantly saying that we need to have a master plan for our facilities there, and I think that has to be the next step. And really looking at if we can refab the 2 diamonds we have for a new diamond, plans to build an additional diamond for baseball now to the west of our current facility there. I mean, I think that's, well, to me, really stepping way back and putting a plan in place that could be a 10, 15-year vision for the property. And I'd like to see that as being a more elaborate work session topic that could help lay out parameters of what we'd like to try to achieve and give direction to SiteLogic administration.
I think the biggest thing is everyone on board with letting SiteLogic do the soil borings and continue like Matt's talking. We're not committing nothing, but can we look at ideas of what we could do out there maybe in the next 2 or 3 years, possibly, correct? Or just...
And at the same time, Mr. Chairman, I think there should be some clarity as to what we can do and cannot do with the wetland that's to the west of the back of the outfield grass. And there has been discussion that we can do work within the fence, but you can't do work outside the fence because it impedes the wetland. I'd like to see all those things clarified to help us really determine what can be done and can't be in those acres.
Thoughts, anyone else?
So for tonight, these topics are just a topic of discussion, we're
discussion.
not moving forward on anything.
Correct. The topic of discussion had come up along in conjunction with the other project we're going to talk about next. So brought it back to full board for full opportunity.
I do like Matt's idea of maybe coming together in a special meeting and having Jeff there and, you know, having the bigger conversation about what might this look like.
Absolutely. Okay.
Is everyone in favor?
Yep, I agree with Dan, it needs to come back to a special meeting or for sure a work session after SiteLogic does some updating, especially with that wetland issue and what that looks like.
When we first brought SiteLogic on board, they surveyed all of our buildings and property and came up with a list of stuff that was like, you know, red and like warning, and things that are like, you know, mediocre, and then things that are really good. And I imagine that these like sports grounds were part of that assessment, right?
Jeff's shaking his head, not so much.
If I may, so we started with just the buildings themselves, and then we're now, based upon this discussion, if we're directed by Superintendent Heitkamp to move forward, then we will cover all of the fields as well. Typically with a district, we start with buildings with most critical systems for instructional purposes. And then we look if there are other facilities that the district wants us to pursue and develop a plan around, we then do that assessment with those plans as I think we're in place.
I think if we're using one rubric for assessing our resources and like our buildings, we should use a similar rubric for assessing our grounds and property. So I think until all of our property is assessed under that one rubric, I don't think we can really agree to move forward on these projects in kind of an ad hoc way.
I agree with that as well. My concern is the turf at Trojan Field and the replacement schedule for that. It's not meant to last forever, and I don't know where we're at from a timing perspective and what the cost would look like to replace that, but I presume that would be a significant bill that's coming up in the next few years.
I believe that field, correct me if I'm wrong, is 6 or 7 years old, is that correct?
6 years, Mr. Chairman.
It was 2020, the first season, I believe.
10 years is what I read.
Yeah, they say 10, they'll tell you 10, and they'll say they've seen it go as long as 15. So we're about half of life.
There has been discussion about a 5-year time frame window of using the $5 million with the hockey field. Does that pertain to this middle school?
I asked that question, and I don't believe there was.
Okay.
It's just emotions out there, and there's no projects. It's just, in the future here, would you want SiteLogic to look at it and give us some ideas, so we have some kind of sense of what we could do out there, if it's too expensive?
I just have a quick question that just came to my mind. So the $5 million has been an escrow account in our fund. Where the interest money, does that go back into the general fund, the interest that's been driven on this monies, or does it go into, where does that money go? Never just thought about it.
Yeah, each fund has their own amount of money, and then it's allocated out each
So
year.
it stays into the
Yep.
fund or the 5 and the 10, okay, thank you.
Yep.
So is there $5 million in our like assigned fund for the middle school, or where is this money right now?
It'd be in the assigned fund, yes.
It is in the
Yep.
assigned fund.
Yep.
So the interest on this money is going back to the assigned fund,
That's
not
correct.
the general.
We have 21.5 million in the assigned fund right now, so.
21.5.
And 10 million of that is Irene, and 10.5 is the middle school, right?
Yes.
It's just the motion was made and to commit up to $5 million. It's just we want to pursue options.
What I'm hearing is that we will get with Jeff and his team. We can do the assessment of our facilities, and that could help drive a potential master plan that we could bring back in a work session on a specific topic to discuss.
All right,
That's the direction for us to get going.
Okay.
And I think other things that need to be assessed would be like, playgrounds at all of the facilities, the grass out here, the Trojan field, like all the land. So that way, we just have a big picture.
Okay. Moving on. 5.8, approve ice arena ownership proposal and lease agreement framework. Joel.
All right, Chairman Bloom, members of the board, again, we are here tonight to propose a potential ice arena ownership and lease agreement with the city of Worthington. This framework establishes the proposed ownership, financial commitments, operational responsibilities, and long-term partnership between the school district, the city of Worthington, and the Worthington Youth Hockey Association for the construction and operation of a new community ice arena facility. All parties acknowledge their shared commitment to the successful construction of a new ice arena facility with the anticipated financial contributions. The city of Worthington will commit $10 million toward the design and construction of the new facility. The school district would contribute the $5 million that's been allocated, as well, and along with that would be the land that goes along with it, and then the existing infrastructure and parking lots that have already been constructed in conjunction with the Learning Center and Community Ed building. The Worthington Youth Hockey Association, sorry about that, I don't know what's going on, but the Worthington Youth Hockey Association will commit $1 million towards construction of the new facility with an additional potential up to $725,000 contingent upon fundraising successful and formal commitments for construction of an expanded dryland training area and meeting room facility. The long-term lease agreement with the city of Worthington would be 25 years. The ownership responsibilities of us would be that we would provide the land for the project, we would provide the existing parking and site lighting, and we would be responsible for future capital maintenance and insurance. Inside the agreement, we have all of those various items listed out, which all of you should have received in the board packet. The city of Worthington with facility operations would control the daily operation of the facility, scheduling all users in accordance with district priority scheduling, hiring, supervising, and managing facility staff, customer service and event management, programming and public skating operations, tournament coordination, opening and closing of the building, as well as all daily custodial services. They would also take on all ice operations and routine maintenance of the building, and also be responsible for utilities and operating expenses. Inside the agreement, we also talk about scheduling of that facility. I think all entities have the desire that this facility is used by the public as much as absolutely possible. And so shared access would be given to all users. As a high school program and school program specifically, we would advocate to use both facilities when operational to free up greater access in the evenings, again, for both facilities. And so although the new facility would be on our property with potentially our ownership, we would still advocate for our boys and girls programs to both practice right after school at 3:30 when truly nobody else really wants it, to free up greater access for our youth programs and community needs, after that 5:30 time when demand becomes higher. All remaining ice time outside of what we're asking for would be scheduled by the city of Worthington with other community users, which would include youth hockey, potentially figure skating, public skating, tournaments, and other programming. In regard to the ice rental rates, although we would potentially be owners because the city is taking on all operational costs, we would be a renter just like everybody else. And we've been in contact with the city on how that rate would be determined. And the framework we've come up with right now is that we would find 5 communities like ours that have 2 sheets of ice, that have similar usage and populations like ours, and then take their rental rates, throw out the high, throw out the low, and then average the 3 on a yearly or bi-yearly basis to determine a fair rental rate for all users.
Would that rental rate be the same for both rings?
Correct. Yes. During our July special session, SiteLogic was here, presented the floor plan and a framework of what a building could look like from an aerial view. The potential cost of that arena all by itself was $15.8 million, just under budget. All of the current parameters that we have with SiteLogic would fall in line with a potential project in this regard as well, whereas the overall cost is the cost. They don't do change orders, and we would make a commitment to a dollar amount that we would be expecting prior to signing the final approval for construction.
Jeff, do you think there's a possibility that even the bids could be?
Can you jump in, please?
I can stand, it's good. Is that okay if I stand?
We need a microphone.
Oh, I'm sorry, I'm gonna make. Thank you.
Thanks, Jeff.
I lost track of what I was even gonna say. Oh, man, all day. I'll think of it. Anybody else have any questions for Jeff as long as he's up there?
I continue to get many phone calls about this topic, and I guess just generally, mostly the questions is how did the 25-year agreement come into play, and is there an advantage of doing it a shorter time?
Sure. No, there was lots of conversation on that specific topic. The thought behind it, as Steve also presented to City Council, was that the longer lease agreement would withstand an possible administrative change in either entity, and that would allow for more continuity within a framework versus if Steve retired, I think he'll maybe retire before I do. If Steve retired, that a new city administrator wouldn't come in and say, well, we no longer want to operate an ice arena and now school, it's back on you. This would allow us to have a greater length of a time of a relationship with a framework in place, and that was the thought that went behind it.
And I think another thing you gotta think of too, Eric, is, and I talked to some of the council, is the makeup of these boards is gonna be different. So we're gonna be different in January. And they're gonna be different, because there's a lot of councilmen that are probably not running again, or in the future, because of age, so. I think that was the big thing on the city's end too, wasn't it?
It was to withstand boards.
Administration, your boards, it's probably gonna be totally different over the years.
Yes, thank you, and I'm asking the question because it was asked of me.
Yeah, absolutely, thank you.
Now, I was gonna ask you, Jeff, when you went through the process of pricing, do you think there is a slight possibility that bids could come under the 15.8?
Absolutely. Yeah.
Help pay for maybe those floor coverings we had talked to use for.
There's potential, and so I did share with Superintendent Haykamp, we've been in touch with a company that had provided 3 different levels, and of course, as was discussed at that joint work session, the $625,000 is kind of the top tier R value that you can have on the ice for quite a while, and then they kind of lower down. We've been told by our contacts, because we actually work with the Minnesota Wild when they do some of their other arenas around the state and elsewhere. And so with that vendor that we use, they kind of tier it to say, well, if you're going to have it on there for like 3 to 5 days, this is probably the R value that you want covering the ice. If you're going to have it for extended, the top tier was up to 30 days on the ice without impacting the integrity of it all. But again, it comes with a big price tag. Most of the second tier and third tier are probably in that $200,000, $225,000 range.
I don't know what you guys think. I think we should give up on explaining that. If it's passive, so. Okay, moving forward, I need a motion.
Motion to approve.
Motion from Ann, do I have a second?
Second?
Seconded by Matt. Is there any further discussion? All those in favor of the motion, raise your hand. Opposed, same sign. Motion passes. Okay. 5.9, approved district-wide organizational chart changes.
Chairman Bloom, this organizational chart was presented at both committees this month, and truly for awareness that we have done a little bit of, not necessarily even restructuring, but just reformatting of the organizational chart for clarity's sake. We wanted to make sure that we had individuals kind of on correct levels. The 2 or 3 pieces that I did call out at committee were some adjustments to some positions. One of them was a health services or nursing coordinator. That position, although is a new title, is not a district new position. We actually reduced our contracted positions with the local hospitals by 1 position. This person is now our employee and oversees our school nurses, as well as some other key medical procedures and practices throughout the district, one of which I'll share here in just a little bit. We also have the addition of Dina back in the mix as our Human Resources Director. That was a position that went budgeted but unused over the last year, and so allowing us to bring Dina back has really freed up Carmen to focus in on oversight of HR, but diving deeper into the business services side of it. And then lastly, as presented already this evening, we have the reduction of the Assistant Special Education Director position, which opened up the avenue for 2 of our own coordinators. And so, as presented at committee and provided in the board packet, we have the new district-wide organizational chart.
We have a motion to approve the district organizational chart changes.
So moved. Second.
Motion by Lori, seconded by Aaron. Is there any further discussion? All those in favor of the motion, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, same sign. Motion passed. Okay, 5.10, this is just for discussion. Discuss Southwest Regional Development Commission nomination.
This was also presented at both committees. The SRDC, or Southwest Regional Development Commission, is asking for school boards within their region to consider nominating a board member to be on the ballot as a board member representative. After presentations at both committees, Board Member Whitboom has offered to at least throw his name out there as a potential nominee, but for further discussion, should anyone else want to be considered.
For clarification for those who are listening, this is just a nomination and then the group, the larger region votes.
Correct.
Yeah.
Yes.
So we are clear what we're communicating.
We have to vote on it.
That I don't know.
The membership, the SRDC board
Membership does.
votes to
Thank you.
representation from the township, cities, schools, and counties in the 9-county area meet 3 to 4 times a year in Slayton. And then also primarily doing lobbying efforts, and a unified voice on big topics is the main emphasis behind our meetings.
Anyone else have interest? Matt, okay. 5.11, approved cardiac emergency response plan.
Yes, Sarah Anderson, our new health services coordinator, was unable to be here this evening, otherwise she would have presented, but she did present this plan and template to operational committee. This template comes from the state as a new initiative. It directs us as a school district to have cardiac emergency response teams at each building. And so what you're approving this evening is a template that we will implement at each one of our sites. It asks us to identify specific individuals that will respond and be trained to respond should something happen in this realm medically within the building. And so we, as Sarah presented, there are people from across various areas. It will be teachers, administrators, school nurses, and folks that will be kind of strategically placed around the building, so quick access to support can be there. And so Sarah will work with building administrators to not only identify those teams, but then also train and keep up training and drill. I believe she shared they recommend at least 1 drill a year. Her plan is to do 2 in the onset to get people on board and ready to go and be able to respond should they need to.
We have a motion to approve the cardiac emergency response plan.
Move to approve.
Motion by Matt, do I have a second?
Second.
seconded by Ann. Is there any further discussion? All those in favor of the motion, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, same sign. Motion passes. Okay, 512, approve a memorandum of understanding with Education Minnesota Worthington.
Yes, we have an MOU for your approval here this evening. The MOU is specific to special education teachers new to the profession. This MOU allows us as district administration to mandate that special education teachers in their first 2 years of licensure in Minnesota will attend the new special education teacher cohort. That was a program that Jill had highlighted there. It also allows us to ask a teacher who's on an improvement plan to attend, or special education teachers who are on a tiered license or out-of-field placement. It also allows for the optional participation when, for example, a teacher who maybe holds licensure in multiple areas, has been a tenured teacher in our content area, but then moves into special education. Well, we're going to offer that as a support, but the MOU doesn't allow us to require it. It also outlines how teachers will be compensated should they go. So allows us to compensate for the mileage and the time if it's outside contract time.
Okay. That means this was a contract item here, we'll be abstaining from the vote. So I have a motion to approve a memorandum of understanding.
So moved.
Motion by Lori, do I have a second?
Second.
Seconded by Ann. Is there any further discussion? All those in favor of the motion, say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, same sign. Motion passes. 5.13, approve a la carte food and milk increase. Carmen.
Administration is recommending an adjustment to our a la carte and milk prices. Over the past several years, the cost of food, milk, supplies, labor, and other operating expenses have continued to increase. During the same period, our a la carte and milk prices were not adjusted at the level that kept pace with those rising costs. As a result, our current pricing no longer adequately reflects what the district is paying to provide these items. The proposed increase is intended to better align prices with current costs and support the long-term financial stability of our child nutrition program. The recommended increase will help move the program closer to the Institute of Child Nutrition. What they currently recommend that food costs account for approximately 40% of the standard school nutrition program's over operational budget. We understand that the increases may impact our families, so we have worked to keep these adjustments at as reasonable as possible. Going forward, administration will review these prices annually so that future changes can be made more gradually and responsibly. We are asking the board to approve the proposed a la carte and milk price adjustments for the upcoming school year. Included in your board packet then is kind of what those changes would be like for milk prices. The board approved in June the adult lunch and breakfast prices at $5.75 for lunch and $3.25. There was no adjustment at that time recommended for milk. So after I kind of took a closer look and worked with our contract and where our current budget is at, we actually were losing money on milk for what we were charging. And that price does fluctuate as milk prices changes monthly, so we weren't up to date with that at all. On the sheet that shows those meal prices, you'll notice that there's like a breakfast entree, and that's a different price, or a lunch. That is for just that item. So an example might be like, maybe for lunch was like, pizza and applesauce and something else, right? The entree is just the slice of pizza, so it's just that one item. So those sometimes are then on the a la carte part, and that's why those prices, the recommended for those prices. On the other sheet that's smaller, if you guys can read it, those are just some other items that are sold on a la carte, and then the recommended prices for those that will be in the district. The school, the high school has a la carte and learning center, and then there are some items at middle school just on a different, not as many that are served at the high school level. Those items aren't usually approved by the board, but we just wanted to share what those costs are going to be with you.
Okay, do we have a motion to approve the increases?
Move to approve a la carte food and milk increases.
Motion by Matt, do I have a second?
Second.
Seconded by Aaron. Is there any further discussion? All those in favor of the motion, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, same sign. Motion passes. 6.0 reports, superintendent, Joel.
All right, good evening. Maybe the last time you have to hear from me tonight, I got 3 little updates for you. The first one is in regard to strategic planning. We've officially kicked off our strategic planning work with our district leaders. Our first leadership discussion focused on guiding change, including an honest look at our district's current reality, the desired results and outcomes we want to achieve, and the agreements for how our leadership team will engage in this work together. As we move forward, our community will begin hearing about opportunities to participate in the planning process. We want to intentionally include the voices of parents, students, teachers, staff, local businesses, and other community partners. The school board will also play an important role in this process. The first opportunity for our board to engage will be in September. Wanted to let you know that I'll send out a doodle poll sometime this week with 3 possible dates in September for a board work session to officially begin the board's work in this important initiative. Secondly, from August 4th through the 6th, we held our first back-to-school professional development experience specifically designed for our district leaders. Across the 3 days, leaders worked together to align practices, learn together, and collaborate across departments and across schools. The goal was to ensure that we're working as one team and are prepared to welcome our students, families, and staff back on August 31st. The engagement and collaboration throughout the 3 days was encouraging and provided a strong start to the new school year with our leaders. Lastly, one more public shout out and invitation, a reminder that our first ever back to school bash will take place next Monday evening, August 24th from 5 to 7 p.m. on Trojan Field. The event will include free food, music, inflatables, and opportunities for students and families to have fun with our Trojan athletes. This event is open to the entire Worthington community, and we hope to see many of our families and community members there as we celebrate the start of a new school year.
Okay.
I have a question about the back-to-school bash.
Yes.
Are there things that you would like the school board to be present in or doing during this event?
I would say if it worked in your schedule to attend, just come and have fun. That's what we asked our principals, was to just be there, welcome students, and have fun with our kids.
That we can do.
And maybe enjoy a hot dog or hamburger.
No adults in the bouncy houses, though.
I was gonna say, is there a weight limit?
Sorry, Mr. Blow. Yes, there is.
We have a dull one. 6.2 instructional committee report.
Everything has been covered.
Operations.
All items were addressed, Mr. Chairman.
Okay, is there any other reports? No other business? No future business?
The only future business, again, just a reiteration that I will send a poll to see if one of the 3 dates that we've got reserved with Teamworks works in a majority of the board schedules for early to mid-September work session.
Anything else?
Do you happen to know what those dates are? Can you just
I
throw
can
them
absolutely
out?
share them right now. Yes, September 8th, September 10th, or September 22nd are the 3 I have reserved with them right now for a 5 to 8 p.m. work session.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
Anything else? Meeting adjourned.